I thought I could keep it quiet, her sister, and the other one too. But then they all showed up at the same dinner, and none of them were smiling. Hi, I'm Jordan, and this story is about how I thought I could outsmart 3 women, until they sat across from me, smiling like they'd already written the ending. Cheating is supposed to be a risk you manage, a balance of timing, lies, and luck. Some people say if they don't know, it won't hurt them. But what if they do know, not separately but together, and they're not hurt, they're coordinated? I'm Jordan, and I'm proof that silence doesn't mean ignorance. Sometimes it means preparation. Here's my story. I hope you learn from it so you never mistake being unbothered for being unaware and never confuse their quiet for safety. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Let's all be internet friends. I swear I didn't plan it. Not the overlap, not the lies. Definitely not the part where all 3 of them would end up in the same room, seated before I walked in, staring like they'd already decided what my punishment would be. I'm not proud of how it started, I'm just telling it straight. It was supposed to be Amara, just her. She was safe, warm, steady. The kind of woman who asked about your mother, remembered your dentist appointment, and packed extra gum in her bag because she knew I always forgot. She introduced me to her family early, 3 months in, said they'll love you. And they did, or maybe they loved who I pretended to be. That was the first time I met Tola, the older sister, sharper edges. The kind of confidence that didn't ask permission. She walked in late, sunglasses on indoors, dropped her bag on the floor like the house was hers. She hugged Amara, nodded at their parents, then turned to me. She smirked, didn't smile, didn't greet, just looked at me for a beat too long. At dinner, she brushed past me in the kitchen, leaned in too close and said, "Don't fall in love with my sister unless you know how to bleed." I laughed, thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Weeks passed. Amara was sweet, supportive, careful. We were good, we were fine, until Tola texted me. It started with a meme, then a music video, then a selfie, not scandalous but not innocent either. I told myself it was harmless. One night we ended up at the same event. Drinks, music, a slow corner of a crowded bar. She leaned in, whispered something about the way I looked in button-downs, and kissed me. I kissed her back. That was mistake 1. Zuri came later. The youngest, quiet, wide-eyed, always listening, never interrupting. She barely spoke the first 2 times I was over, just nodded, smiled politely, disappeared into corners. I thought she didn't matter. Then Amara went out of town, work trip, gone for 5 days. Zuri showed up at my place. She said she needed help with something for school, a paper, a reference. We talked for an hour, she didn't bring up Amara. Then on her way out she kissed me too. Didn't ask, didn't explain, just leaned in. Soft, like she already knew I wouldn't stop her. And I didn't, that was mistake 2. I thought I could manage it, keep the lanes separate, different days. Different locations. Change my cologne, adjust my tone, play the part. None of them would find out until they did. And now here I am. Sitting in my car outside their family home, staring at the front door I've walked through a dozen times before. Only this time they're already inside, and none of them were smiling. Her name was Amara, the first one, the safe one, the one who made me feel like I was already forgiven for things I hadn't even confessed. We met at a friend's birthday party, something thrown together last minute, half-drunk guests, bad playlists, too much tequila. She was sitting on the kitchen counter, sneakers on, hair up, eating cake straight off a paper towel like she didn't care who was watching. I liked her before we even spoke. She didn't flirt. She didn't try. She asked me if I wanted some cake, then handed me a fork without waiting for the answer. We started talking that night and didn't stop for 2 weeks. It moved fast but not reckless. She was organized, intentional. She asked real questions, listened like she was trying to memorize the shape of my thoughts. She kept a notebook in her bag and a second toothbrush in her car. Her apartment was clean, soft, full of things that felt lived in. Her bathroom always smelled like eucalyptus. She read books before bed and bought 2 copies, one for her and one for me. She made Sunday dinners from scratch. She touched my back when I was anxious and didn't ask me to explain it. She was the kind of woman who made you feel like your future had already been planned, gently, thoughtfully, with throw pillows. I met her parents after 6 weeks. They invited me over for dinner. Her mom hugged me like a son. Her dad told me he liked my handshake. Her sisters were there too, floating around the edges. I smiled, made jokes, held Amara's hand under the table like I meant it. And I did, at least for a while. We were good, stable, predictable, maybe too predictable. The kind of good that starts to feel like still water, clear but unmoving. And in that stillness, something darker started to breathe. Her name was Tola, the older sister, the one who walked in like the house owed her something. High boots, black nails, sharp perfume that hung in the air long after she left a room. I met her at that first family dinner. She arrived 20 minutes late, no apology, phone still in hand, scrolling like she wasn't walking into anything important. She kissed their mom on the cheek, gave Amara a tight squeeze, nodded once at their dad, and when she looked at me, she tilted her head like she was already bored. I reached out to shake her hand. She didn't take it, just smirked, walked past me. I laughed it off. So did Amara. She's dramatic, she said. Ignore her. But I didn't. At dinner, Tola sat across from me, sipping red wine too slow, licking her bottom lip like it was a dare. She asked questions Amara wouldn't, where I worked, what I made, who I used to date. When I dodged one, she smiled like she'd won something. Later in the kitchen, I was helping clear plates. She brushed past me, close enough to feel her breath against my ear. Amara's a good girl, she whispered. She doesn't deserve to be bored. I froze. She kept walking, didn't look back. That was the first crack. I told myself it was a one-off, that she was just testing boundaries, stirring things up for the fun of it, that maybe she flirted with everyone. But I started noticing more. A text that didn't need to be sent, a hand that lingered too long when passing the salt, a look that lasted half a second too long when Amara wasn't watching. It was never loud, just constant. A hum under the surface. I didn't move on it, not then, but I thought about it. And Tola, she knew I was thinking. That was the game. It started with late-night texts. First one was harmless, something about a song she thought I'd like. I replied. She sent another, then a meme, then a comment about how boring Amara's taste in music was. I ignored that part, sent a laugh emoji. Told myself she was just being snarky. Sisters fought all the time, but it kept going. Midnight messages, 1 a.m. likes on stories she used to ignore. A selfie once, head wrapped, no filter, eyes locked on the camera like she knew exactly what she was doing. Still, I told myself it was nothing. I loved Amara, I did. Then came the night out. Tola invited me to a small show downtown, said she had an extra ticket. Amara was visiting her dad's side of the family that weekend, 4 hours away. I said no at first. She said, "You scared to be seen with me?" I said I wasn't, that I trusted myself. She replied, "Let's test that." And I failed. I showed up. We met at the venue. She wore something sharp, black, low at the back, didn't touch me. Didn't lean in, just smiled like the night was already over and she'd won. We had drinks, talked trash about the band, argued about food spots. She said she liked me better without Amara around, less filtered, more fun. I laughed. She leaned closer. "You've got that sweet thing going for you," she said, eyes locked on mine. "But I bet that's not the whole story." She kissed me before I could answer, and I didn't stop her. Didn't push her away, didn't even pretend to. I just kissed her back like I didn't know what I was trading in that moment. When it was over, she didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just wiped the corner of her mouth and said, "I knew it." Then she walked away. And I stood there, heart pounding, thinking about Amara's voice the night before. "Call me when you get home, okay?" I never did. Zuri never spoke much. She was the youngest, barely 21, always half invisible at dinners, slipping in and out of rooms like she didn't want to take up space. She wore oversized sweaters, kept her headphones in, and said more with a glance than most people did with paragraphs. I didn't pay her much attention. She was polite, quiet, barely smiled when I joked around the table. Always observing, never interrupting. The kind of presence that blends in so well you forget it's watching, but she noticed everything. Amara used to say Zuri was the sharp one, that she remembered things other people didn't even clock. Who sat where, what time someone left, whether or not someone had been drinking. "She's scary smart," she said once, "but she doesn't trust people enough to show it." The night Amara left for a conference in Chicago, I got a knock at my door around 8:30. It was Zuri, hood up, book bag slung over one shoulder. I was downtown, missed the train, didn't feel like waiting alone at the station. I let her in, made her tea, asked if she needed anything. She sat on the edge of my couch like she wasn't sure she should be there, said she was fine. We made small talk. She asked what I was watching, said Amara texted her to check in. She didn't mention Tola. Didn't ask about anything she shouldn't have known. Then she stood up, said I should go. I walked her to the door. She turned to face me, hand on the handle. "You've been seeing her, haven't you?" she asked, not accusing, just curious. I didn't respond. She stepped forward, close, eyes on mine. "I see things," she said, "you know that." Then she kissed me, soft, slow, no hesitation, and I let her. I didn't stop it, didn't question it. Just fell straight into it like gravity had made the decision for me. When she pulled back, she looked calm, not nervous, not shy, just finished. Then she walked out, didn't say goodbye. And I stood there in the open doorway, lips still wet, finally understanding the truth. She'd been watching the whole time. All of them had 3 sisters, 3 stories, 1 me. I started treating them like different lives. Compartmentalized, labeled, sealed tight. Amara was the girlfriend, the foundation. The one I cooked for, laughed with, slept beside. Her toothbrush sat in my bathroom like it belonged there. Her name came up when people asked what I was building. Tola was the escape, the wildfire, late-night texts and locked door encounters. She liked control, she liked danger, and I liked how quickly she erased the weight of consequence. With her, I didn't have to be careful, I just had to show up. Zuri was different. Zuri didn't ask for time, she took it. She never stayed long, never texted first, never asked what we were or what it meant. But she always looked at me like she knew I was lying, even when I wasn't talking. And I convinced myself it was working. Different days, different locations, never patterns, changed my cologne depending on who I was seeing, rotated shirts, kept separate playlists. Amara never questioned me, she trusted consistency. Tola didn't care, she just liked the power. And Zuri watched. That was her game. I even believed it for a while. Believed I was smart enough to thread the needle, keep the timelines clean, manage the chaos. I'd catch my reflection some mornings, brushing my teeth, scrolling through messages from all 3, and I'd laugh. Not because it was funny, because it hadn't exploded yet. And I thought that meant I was in control, but nothing stays still forever. And when it started to unravel, it didn't do it slowly. It started with a warning, and by then I was already too deep. We were at a bar when he said it, my best friend, Jide, known me since college. Always had a way of cutting through the noise. I'd told him the basics, not the full picture, never the full picture, but enough. Enough to earn a head shake and a long exhale over his second drink. He sipped his whiskey, didn't look at me when he spoke. "You're not playing the field," he said. "You're playing with blood." I raised an eyebrow, he leaned in. "Sisters, bro, that's not just messy. That's genetic warfare." I laughed, tried to shrug it off, but he didn't crack a smile. "I'm serious," he said. "You think you're just sneaking around? These women grew up together. They've got the same tells, same calendar, same mother. You think secrets last in that house? They haven't said anything. Yet." He sat back, swirling the ice in his glass. "You know what makes people dangerous?" he asked. "When they stop competing and start cooperating." I didn't respond. He looked me dead in the eye. "This isn't a game where one of them wins you," he said. "It's a game where all of them lose you, and once they realize that." He tapped the table. "They don't go after each other." He let the pause hang there. "They come for you." I didn't sleep well that night, not because I believed him, but because, for the first time, I wasn't sure I didn't. It started slipping in places I didn't expect. Zuri called me one night, nothing unusual at first. Said she was out, needed a ride. Her voice was softer than usual, but I didn't clock it. I picked her up outside a cafe near the university. She slid into the passenger seat, hoodie up, hair tucked back. I asked if she was good. She said she was fine, but something felt off. She smelled different, not like her usual lavender or whatever lotion she wore. This time it was citrus. And something else, something too familiar. Tola wore that scent. I didn't say anything, just drove. Zuri stared out the window the whole time, quiet, fingers tapping her knee in rhythm. Halfway to her place, she asked if I wanted to stop for food. I said sure. We pulled into a diner, sat in a booth. She didn't order anything, just played with the sugar packets. "You ever wonder what someone would do if they found out everything?" she asked, not looking at me. I gave her a half laugh, like what kind of everything? She shrugged, like the kind that changes how they see you, how they see themselves. I tried to steer it somewhere else, asked about school, work, life. She didn't bite, just looked at me finally. "You're not as careful as you think." My stomach dropped, but I kept the smile on my face. "What's that supposed to mean?" She smiled back, that same unreadable curve she always gave me before dropping a line I couldn't recover from. "I just think people who make a mess shouldn't assume the cleanup will be on someone else." Then she stood. Didn't wait for me, walked straight out of the diner, hoodie up, hands in her pockets. And I sat there, heart thudding, realizing something I hadn't wanted to admit. They weren't just noticing, they were talking. The text came 2 days later. "Dinner at my parents', everyone will be there, you coming?" From Amara, no punctuation, no emojis, clean, direct. I stared at it longer than I should have. It didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a test I didn't know how to pass. I typed out a reply twice, deleted both, finally settled on, "Yeah, what time?" She replied instantly, 6, don't be late." I showed up 15 minutes late, not on purpose. Not to make a statement, just stupid. Traffic, wrong turn, changed my shirt twice before walking out the door. I brought wine, something expensive enough to distract, smooth enough to feel like effort. I practiced my smile in the rearview. Told myself if they knew, they wouldn't have invited me. Told myself Zuri was bluffing. That Tola didn't care. That Amara wouldn't go through the trouble of hosting dinner if the plan was to bury me in front of her parents. I believed that right up until I pulled into the driveway. The lights were already on, curtains drawn, table visible through the wide front window, 6 seats, 4 of them filled. The sisters were already seated, Amara at the head. Zuri to her left, Tola directly across. None of them were smiling, and none of them looked away when I stepped up to the door. The moment I stepped in, I knew. The energy wasn't awkward, it was engineered, like they'd rehearsed it. Practiced the angles, timed every blink. I held the wine up as if it might protect me. Sorry I'm late. No one said a word. Amara's mother appeared from the kitchen, cheerful, warm, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She took the wine with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. They're already seated, she said. Go ahead. I walked toward the dining room like it was a courtroom. There they were, Amara at the end of the table, spine straight, hands folded. Zuri to her left, chin propped on one hand, eyes locked on me like she was already bored with the show. Tola across from her, wine glass in hand, slow sip, no expression. I pulled out the only empty chair and sat. Silence. The kind that fills every inch of a room and dares you to break it. I looked at Amara first. She looked back, blank. You okay, babe? She tilted her head slightly. Should I not be? Her voice didn't crack, didn't lift. Just sat there balanced, perfect. I went still. Under the table, her hand reached over, rested gently on my knee, not a comforting touch, a grip, tight, centered, controlling, like a warning, like you're here now, don't run. I forced a smile. Long day. Tola exhaled a quiet laugh. Zuri said nothing, just reached for her water, sipped, and kept her eyes on me. And the room full of clinking plates and the smell of baked fish and candles that had no business burning that bright, felt suddenly, absolutely wrong. I was surrounded, not by family, but by evidence. No one spoke, not for a full minute, maybe longer, just the slow scrape of silverware on plates, a cough from the hallway, the sound of someone pouring water like it mattered more than words. Tola cut her chicken with surgical precision, each slice deliberate. She didn't look up, didn't need to. Zuri was still watching me, not blinking, like I was part of some thesis she'd been working on for weeks. Amara chewed slowly, napkin folded in her lap like always. Her hand never left my knee, not once. Her grip didn't tighten, didn't ease up, just stayed, fixed, the kind of hold that says, I know everything. And I'm choosing not to scream. I cleared my throat once, reached for the water, missed the glass, knocked it slightly, recovered fast, no one reacted. Her parents made small talk, polite, pointless. Her dad brought up a neighbor remodeling their kitchen. Her mom mentioned a sale at the market. Background noise, but the sisters, silent, watching, performing nothing. I tried to speak, to make a joke, break the ice, but my voice caught. Tola finally looked up, just for a second, a glance like a razor, then back to her plate. Zuri reached for the salt, even though there was nothing on her food that needed it. She didn't pass it, she just held it. Let it sit between her fingers. Amara's hand moved up my thigh half an inch, not affection, just pressure. A reminder, this wasn't dinner, this was sentencing, and I was already guilty. You okay, babe? Her voice didn't match the question. It was too calm, too smooth. Like silk pulled tight across something sharp. I turned to her. She smiled barely. The kind of smile you'd mistake for warmth if you didn't know better, but I knew her, knew every version of her face. And this wasn't kindness, this was control. Her fingers slid higher, still under the table. A slow drag, knuckles brushing the inside of my thigh, not tender, territorial. I nodded. Yeah, I'm good. She didn't blink. Good, she said. Would have hated for you to be uncomfortable. Zuri looked down at her plate, grinned like she was hearing a joke no one else had caught. Tola didn't react, still eating, still slicing, still wearing the expression of someone waiting for her moment. The rest of the family kept up their act. Her dad poured more wine. Her mother complimented the chicken. I couldn't taste mine. Amara's grip didn't loosen. It pulsed, slow, rhythmic. Not a threat, a signal, we're not done. I tried to shift subtly. Her hand held. She turned to her father, asked him a question about the office, some client I'd never heard of. Her tone was perfect, balanced, familiar. Her dad responded, happy to be included again. And all I could think was how terrifying it was to be touched like a lover and handled like a weapon at the same time. Zuri leaned toward Tola, whispered something low. Tola didn't turn her head, just kept cutting her food. but her mouth twitched, half a smirk sharp at the edge. Then came the laugh, quiet, controlled, just one breath out of her nose, like something had clicked into place. I looked at Zuri. She looked at me, then she took a bite of her mashed potatoes like nothing happened. I glanced at Amara. Her fork hovered over her plate, paused in midair, like she was listening for a specific sound, like she was waiting for a crack. The silence stretched, broken only by the occasional clink of silverware. I tried to pretend nothing was happening, tried to play casual, but my hands felt like they didn't belong to me. Tola finally spoke. "Remember when we used to do those sleepovers in the living room?" she asked casually. "Mom used to bring popcorn and we'd all fight over which movie to watch." Zuri nodded. "And Amara always picked something boring." Amara smiled at her plate, but I always knew how the story would end. They laughed together, not loud, but together. I was the only one not laughing, because I finally understood what was happening. They weren't avoiding each other, they weren't competing. They'd talked, compared notes, aligned timelines, cross-referenced receipts, and now they were united, not over blood, over revenge. Amara's mother smiled at me from across the table. Soft, warm, too sweet. "We thought you'd never come," she said, folding her napkin like she was about to host a bridal shower. I forced a smile. Wouldn't miss it. Her eyes held mine just a beat too long, not suspicious, curious. Like she knew something but didn't quite understand all of it. Like someone had handed her a script without telling her she was in a play. The room felt too clean, the lighting perfect, the food plated like it was meant to be photographed. I'd eaten at this table half a dozen times, but tonight everything felt staged. Like a scene dressed up for a final act. Tola poured herself another glass of wine, tapped the side of her glass with her ring finger, slow and rhythmic. Zuri sipped water without swallowing, eyes darting once to Amara, then back to me. Amara didn't speak, just watched, waited, like the room was a loaded gun and she was the one holding the trigger. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, set it face down in front of her right next to her fork. Zuri's mouth twitched. Tola crossed her legs, and I sat there trying to breathe evenly, wondering how much longer I had before they pulled the curtain all the way back. Amara picked up her phone, calm, casual, like she was about to show off vacation pictures or a funny video. "Let's play a game," she said. Her voice was smooth, light, too light. Tola straightened up, brushing invisible lint from her sleeve. Zuri reached into her bag, pulled out a folded note card, set it down beside her water glass without looking at me. "A game?" their mom asked. Amara smiled. "Just a little trivia." Zuri unfolded the card, read without hesitation. "Who once said, 'Tola tastes better than red wine'?" The table went still, her parents blinked. Tola burst out laughing. Zuri sipped her water. Amara watched me. I felt my face flush, heat rising to the tips of my ears. My stomach dropped like a stone. Their mom looked confused. "What kind of?" "Inside joke," Amara said quickly, waving it off. "You had to be there." More laughter, soft, eerie, rehearsed. No one else laughed, not me, not her dad. I reached for my water, missed the glass again. My hand shook. Tola winked at me. Zuri passed the card to Amara, who folded it back up like it was evidence. She set it on her plate, right beside her untouched food. No one asked for a second round of questions. They didn't need to. The message had landed. Not a scream, not a slap, just a single line, surgical and unforgettable, and they were just getting started. Zuri reached into her bag again. No drama, no build-up, just a quiet motion like she was handing over a pen. But it wasn't a pen, it was a flash drive. She set it down in the center of the table, right next to the centerpiece. Not a word, just a slight push with her fingers, sliding it toward me like an offering or a weapon. Tola didn't look at it, she already knew what was on it. Amara placed her napkin neatly beside her plate, then looked up. "Thought you might want those back." I didn't move. Zuri leaned in, rested her chin on her hand. "You gonna open it?" My hand hovered for half a second, then I took it, slipped it into my pocket like maybe hiding it could undo the damage. "Go ahead," Amara said. "We'll wait." Tola gestured toward my bag. "We made sure it works on Mac and Windows." Laughter again, cold, measured. I reached down, pulled my laptop from my messenger bag, opened it with fingers that felt twice their size. The room felt louder now, even in silence. Every breath, every shift of weight, every tiny clink of glass against glass. I inserted the drive. Folder popped open. Photos, screenshots, text logs, timestamped receipts, location data, phone call histories, me, Tola, Zuri, all of it. Laid out in order, labeled, one folder for each of them. One master folder titled Triangulation. I stared, no one said anything. Zuri leaned back, Tola sipped her wine. Amara tapped her nails on the table, not to rush me. To remind me they had time, I started to speak. The words weren't ready, they came slow, unfinished. I can explain. Amara lifted one finger, not a warning, just a command. SHHH, and I obeyed. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't blink, just kept that one finger in the air like a conductor silencing a string section before the drop. Tola looked at her nails. Zuri pulled out her phone and started scrolling, not typing, like she was just passing the time. The silence wasn't awkward, it was curated, designed to stretch. I looked at Amara, her eyes never left mine, not accusing, not even angry, worse, she looked done. She turned to her mother and asked for more wine. Her mom, still half lost in the tension no one would explain, stood and walked to the kitchen. Her dad stayed seated, face unreadable. He hadn't spoken in 10 minutes. I sat there with the laptop open in front of me, every lie cataloged, color-coded, time-stamped. And no one was yelling. That was the part that made it unbearable. No questions, no accusations, no emotional outbursts, just control. Amara finally dropped her finger, and for the first time I realized they didn't want answers. They wanted consequences. Zuri reached into her jacket, pulled out a small, folded letter, thick paper, creased perfectly like it had been folded and refolded until the lines were permanent. She slid it across the table, same way she'd done with the flash drive. Only this time she didn't say a word. I stared at it, didn't touch it. Amara gave me a nod, small, encouraging. Like she wanted me to see what was inside, not to hurt me but to complete something. I opened it, printed email, no greeting, just a forwarded message chain. Subject line: concern regarding employee conduct, conflict of interest. Addressed to my company's ethics compliance inbox. The complaint was anonymous but precise, dates, names, timeframes. Even flagged a vendor relationship I thought no one outside my office could have known about. Attached were screenshots of text messages between me and Tola, calendar invites with overlapping meetings, timestamps that showed I wasn't just sleeping with her, I was leaking information. Unknowingly, stupidly, but still. My job's ethics policy didn't care about intentions. The last line of the email chilled me. This pattern of behavior reflects poor judgment and compromised trust and should be reviewed immediately before it becomes a liability. I looked up. Zuri was watching me like she just tied a bow on a thesis project. Amara sipped her wine. Tola didn't move. And I sat there, letter in hand, laptop open, and realized they hadn't just burned the bridge. They'd mailed the ashes to every door I cared about. Amara leaned in, not fast, not threatening, just close enough that I could smell her perfume and feel the temperature shift. You thought you were playing us. Her voice was soft, too soft. She didn't blink. You really believed we were fighting each other. Tola crossed one leg over the other, slow. Her wineglass stayed in her hand, untouched now, more of a prop than a drink. Zuri tucked her phone away, folded her hands, and looked at me like the test was over. Amara smiled then, the saddest, calmest smile I'd ever seen on her face. You never once stopped to ask what we might do if we stopped fighting for you, she said, and started fighting together. That was the blow. Not the photos, not the flash drive, not the ethics letter or the dig about Tola and red wine. It was that sentence, because she was right. I never imagined them unified, never imagined their silence wasn't weakness but strategy. I was so used to women turning on each other when things got ugly, I never stopped to think they'd turn on me in unison. That they'd talk, compare, build, and when they did, they didn't scream, they organized. I opened my mouth but I didn't even know what I was trying to say. Zuri stood first, then Tola. Amara stayed seated. Dinner's over, she said, not an insult, just a fact. I walked out alone. No one followed. No one called my name. The front door didn't slam. It stayed open like a quiet insult. Like a stage curtain left half-drawn after the final act. The air outside was colder than I remembered. Or maybe that was just the sweat drying on my back. My hands were shaking, not from fear, not from guilt, from realization. I got in the car, shut the door, just sat there. Phone started buzzing in my pocket, once, then again. Then 3 more times. Group chats, work alerts. Missed calls from a number I knew was HR. I didn't answer any of them. The laptop was still in the passenger seat, flash drive still plugged in, screen dimmed but not dark. The folder labeled triangulation sat open like an autopsy. Everything I built gone. My job exposed, my relationships dead, my future rewritten by the very people I thought I had under control, and I couldn't even be mad. Because they didn't raise their voices, they didn't threaten, they didn't slap or scream or cry, they just planned, executed, left the mess where I could see it, and walked away clean. I stared at that still open front door one last time, then drove off, not fast, not slow, just forward, because there was nowhere left to go but away. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. One love.